Good afternoon. It's Lindsay. It is Saturday. Saturday, February 14th, 2026. And yeah, I'm telling you, this kind of weird, these sorts of weird, odd things that have happened in my life lately. I'm just documenting this because, once again, this man, this Luke Valdez man, Lewis, he keeps on, since I figured out what was going on and I exposed his whole Facebook fraud stuff about how he has been lying to me about the fact that he's been with some woman on Facebook. Well, he's got a Facebook profile where there's pictures of he and this woman, and going back from like August of 2025. And so when I confronted him about that, and then he would say that he had been in Houston and working and all this kind of stuff, I'm like, yeah. Basically, I had caught him in a lot. I mean, basically, he had been caught lying, okay? And so what he kept doing, because he knows that I figured that out, and he's trying to hide that relationship with this woman, and I think that they must have been doing, they must have been in, I suspect that these two, I don't know this woman. I suspect that something bad happened in that relationship with her. I suppose he met her dancing, where at this club that he goes to, this Luna Rosa place that he likes to go to and dance. Apparently, he likes to dance like the cumbia and salsa and all that merengue stuff. So he goes to these various venues around town, where I guess he's probably a pretty good dancer. I mean, he seems to really enjoy that, and from what I guess he's probably a pretty good dancer. I don't know. I've never gone to any of these places with him. I have no idea. Nonetheless, that's something he likes to do. And that seems to be how he meets a lot of his girlfriends or these women who he gets involved with. So he's kind of a party clubber, and he likes to drink a lot. He likes to drink, he likes to go to bars, and he likes to make himself known. This is what, he's very narcissistic, and narcissistic men are people, what they do, because I've observed this throughout my life. I don't really go to clubs or bars anymore. I do very seldom, but in the past, it's interesting to watch how people are. And a lot of times what narcissistic people do, and I have been with this man to a bar here in San Antonio called The Other Woman a couple of times, and he's very arrogant. He likes to be the center of attention. And what these kinds of people do is they'll focus. One thing I noticed that he's really rude. He's kind of rude to the staff, or I noticed he was being kind of rude to somebody at that place, but whatever. I don't take that, but I've just noticed the way they behave when you observe these individuals in a social setting, such as a bar, such as a restaurant. You'll notice how their sense of entitlement is such that they often look down on people who are in the service industry, waiters or waitresses or bus boys or whatever, because they seem to think that, they'll always be complaining about the food's not right, or it's this or that, or that's how a lot of narcissistic people behave in restaurants and in clubs and whatever. Nothing's good enough for them. They act like they need the red carpet treatment, and they don't. And that's one thing that would make me that I found kind of aggravating about him, is that I'd say, well, why don't we go to one of these bars around this neighborhood? Here in the East Side, there's a lot of hole in the wall bars that seem kind of cool. Why not? Well, let's go check out some of these places if you want to go out. He's like, no, I don't go to those places. I don't like to be around those people. I'm like, well, what do you mean, what, these kinds of people? He's like the Chicanos, or I'm like, well, you are a Mexican, you are Chicano. These are your people. What do you mean? Well, they're not, they're stupid. He basically would be putting down his own people, his own race of people, his own culture, Chicano, Mexican, Americans, whatever. And I understand it makes sense that if you're somebody who comes from a not so great part of town, and you've elevated and you've made a name for yourself, and you've kind of risen the ranks, and you're doing well, maybe making money, and and other people tend to be kind of more get involved with things that are more shady, or they're promiscuity, or they're doing drugs or whatever, and they might navigate or congregate at certain areas where this, that makes sense that you don't want to be in that kind of vicinity, that you want to be around people who are more at your level. Okay, that makes sense, but he would act like every place is like there's nothing that would be like it's like he was so judgmental. They're very judgmental about everything, everybody, and it makes you feel like you is their victim or their supply. Well, it's like, well, if they're going to be talking about these kinds of people like that, making fun of people, well, what are they doing? What's he doing behind my back all the time? I wonder. What, the smear campaign, which they do a lot of things that are just mean. Like and what is so odd about the behavior of narcissistic men and I'm talking about narcissistic man right here, is that they just have this sense of entitlement, this sense of grandiosity, where it's perplexing. It's almost amusing to watch them behave, and it's confusing, it's perplexing, it's odd, it's alarming, but at the same time you can see through it. You can see through the whole facade when you really listen to what they're saying and how they talk. Just listen more than you talk around these people, because if you listen to what they're saying without asking questions, they'll start revealing who they are almost without you having to ask questions. They'll start to almost like confess things about themselves, which are really they're basically just letting you know who they are. They're letting you know who they are because they know that you can see through the bullshit. And so whenever they know that you have picked up on it, or if you've seen through the mask, or the cover's been blown, so to speak, on their behavior or their personality disorder, then that's when they start to they become really comfortable around you. You'll notice that they kind of drop their guard a lot, and they become a little bit too comfortable, where they start to confess things on accident, and they start to just like be who they really are, without the mask, without the facade, without they'll start to be a little bit more transparent with you as time goes on and you get to know them better. But still, it's Jekyll and Hyde. They're living a double life, and they keep so many secrets that you're shocked. You're like, you always had that suspicion that something's off, that they're lying to me. They have some kind of an alternative lifestyle. They have a completely, maybe they have a significant other. They're married. You don't know, but something's off. There's something. You get this intuition and these feelings, and that you're being lied to, but you don't know exactly what they're lying to you about. But as I said, as time goes on and these people come and go from your life, or they keep coming and hoovering and discarding and re-hoovering and all that, or you discard them and they keep reappearing, that your intuitions are correct, and you don't need validation for your intuition, because usually your intuition is speaking to you. And that's what would happen with me, is like my intuition the whole time that I knew this man, or that I've known him since 2023. Actually, he had contacted me, around 2020, maybe a little bit before 2023, he had contacted me, but it wasn't until 2023, after my uncle or father, Alan, passed away, that this man got really aggressive with me. Really aggressive as far as really wanting to be in my life and getting to know me. You see the patterns of how I was starting to see that this man's got some kind of ulterior motive. And I would watch and observe his behavior patterns when he was around me, and I noticed that there's a consistent pattern of his wanting to be very much involved with my finances. very much involved with my schedule, very much involved with controlling my life to the point where it was indicative of he was being paid as a handler or somebody who was trying to play like he was a guardian over me, over my finances, or maybe a court-appointed guardian without my consent is what it felt like. Because I can assure you that when I would go to these hearings in Kerrville, the probate court case hearings in Kerrville, because I went to all of them, I was basically, okay, first of all, there was the attorney ad litem who was appointed by the judge, and she seemed miserable. She did not, obviously lawyers are not happy, a lot of them. They're doing their job. They don't want to, they're very, some of them can be extremely difficult to communicate with, or they make you feel uncomfortable when you communicate with them. That's how some of them behave. And that's what she was very, I would try to, it's like it was hard to get through to her. I mean, it was just not easy. We didn't have, it was like, I felt it was just awkward kind of thing where I didn't feel like she was very communicative or open or honest. And that was just kind of some of the feelings I got. Yet I was being very transparent with her, obviously, because I am that way. I'm just somebody who's very direct and speaks my mind. I speak what I feel, which that's what I do. But I know it was hard for me. I was like thinking, is this woman really somebody who's supporting me? Is she defending me, or is she on the opposite opposing side? Because it was confusing, and I felt like that was all meant to try to confuse me. Because I remember at the termination of one of those probate hearings in Kerrville, the probate court case for Alan, it was probably the last hearing. Yeah, it was the last hearing where because my mother was there and her significant other, or boyfriend Jose, was there, and I was so upset because she was ignoring my mother. Kenny was there at the court in the little waiting room. She was just wearing all white. And she was just looking at her phone playing Scrabble. And I was like trying to talk to her, and she was just basically like acting like I wasn't there. And I'm like, am I your fucking daughter? I mean, I was thinking, why don't, I never really see you that much. I'm supposedly your adult daughter and you live in Mexico. Why don't, can you put the phone down and maybe we can communicate? But she was just looking at her phone and playing Scrabble. And I was like, God damn it. It was upsetting. It was unnerving for me, but I just tried not to react to it. It was odd. And then it was just the whole thing seemed very staged. And I was conducting myself well-behaved, very professional, because I've been to many court. I know how people behave. I know how to conduct myself properly in a formal setting. I'm educated enough to know that I have respect for the judges and lawyers, because I just do. I always have. And I have a respect for people in a court setting, because it's an odd thing. Whenever you've been to court hearings and you've been through a probate process or a divorce process and whatnot, whatever, these things are very intense. They can be very intense, and it's no laughing matter when you're battling for your rights, your sovereignty, or you're fighting for something that you believe in, or money. It can be very emotionally, psychologically draining. But you have to try to have that poker face where you can't, let everybody know that you're how you feel. I mean, it's very strange, the court system, obviously, and people, like I said, who've been through the probate process or divorce, whatever. What I'm talking about. How weird it can be, how strange it can feel when you're surrounded by people judging you, and then you might be in something about a probate where you're around your own family members, or people who might be biological family or adopted family, whatever, if they're your biological family or not. It's very strange. It can be very odd, and but when you pay attention to the way people are behaving in their body language, and this is what gives things away, is the body language of how people behave in a formal setting, especially in a courtroom. That will reveal a lot more than you think. So I was picking up on all these weird little patterns and behavior quirks of some of these people, to the point that I was convinced that some of them were lying, flat out lying on the judge's stand, or the witness stand and whatnot. And that's the way I feel about that whole situation in Kerrville. That there was a lot of weird things, and I'm still convinced that I was being lied to. And I do remember the judge making a comment that he was concerned about me, like something about, like, since I was not really allowed to talk, it was upsetting because I was not allowed to really speak my mind and say what I wanted to say, because I had the attorney ad litem. And that's what's so frustrating, is like I didn't get a chance to speak my truth. And so they're arguing about, she was trying to, okay, the judge was saying something about if I had ever been into a mental hospital. And then I said no. I started to talk, and I said no, but they tried to put me in a institution in 2016 when I first came to San Antonio. My mother tried to put me in a mental hospital, and I fought that guardianship case. I told him, and they almost didn't want me to say that. Apparently, I was not supposed to be at the hearing. Apparently, they were going to try to do all this stuff, all this whole probate thing, completely behind my back. That's what they wanted. That's what they planned. But they were surprised, at least the attorney of this Pamela Ray King that Carter had appointed and paid, she was surprised that I was even there. And she was making comments like, no, don't tell her that, she'll be too embarrassed. Or it's like they were not expecting me to even be at that hearing. They were not expecting me to even say anything, which I did say something to defend myself. And it was about the fact that my mother, Kenny Baldwin, or whoever family members, and she's the one who petitioned a guardianship on me in 2016 or 2017, when I was living at Canton Street, 646 Canton. My mother had somebody, they served me papers, the sheriff's department, with a file, and somebody named Philip Walker of ICOR, this organization here in San Antonio, escorted me to the Methodist Transplant Center in San Antonio, which is a hospital, and then I was evaluated by a psychiatrist without my consent. It was involuntary commitment is what it was, okay? And I did not, it was very nerve-wracking, humiliating, insulting. So I had to go through that, and I had to fight my way out of that whole guardianship thing, which they're trying to do. The question is, why exactly were they trying to put a guardianship on me in 2016, and why did my aunt, Gwen Griffith, my supposed aunt, she's my mother or my aunt, this Gwen Griffith, showed up at my house unannounced, uninvited. This attorney, Stacy January, or somebody, and somebody else, my cousin Greg was there. And it's like they're doing this intervention. I remember there was a sofa in the house that was already in that house at Canton Street, this ugly white sofa. Because my mother had that property, before I moved into that property, she had been renting it out as an Airbnb. And it was filled with a bunch of nasty furniture, disgusting stuff, like one of which was that nasty, big, oversized, white, dirty white sofa. Oh, and I'm sorry, it wasn't a white, it was like a floral print sofa. It was like a Ralph Lauren printed polo, Ralph Lauren printed pink, kind of pink with roses, I remember, and I hated it. I was like, this is just not, it doesn't look, I didn't want it. I didn't like that big sofa. And it's like, whatever. I just remember visually seeing that whole scenario with everybody sitting on that sofa, and here I am being interrogated and treated like I'm incapacitated, and that there's a guard, that they're trying to get me to go to a mental hospital. And it's like, where did all that come from? I had just moved there to San Antonio, to Canton Street. You know, that whole thing was fucking weird. My mother kicked me out of the house, her house on Ferndale, 3302 Ferndale, where I was living, upstairs. And the house was huge. There was plenty of room. I lived upstairs. and I was trying to be a good, whatever house guest, and I had, the reason I was living there is because I had broken my hip. And I could not go up and down the steps at the Elman Street apartment, 1816 Elman Street apartment number 4. I could no longer go up the steps because of the hip, my broken hip. So I was recovering, and she allowed me to live in that house while I was recovering. And Margarita, the housekeeper, was helping me. Margarita is the one who helped me move out of my apartment on Elman. She went with me in my little Honda Civic and helped me get my little Acura, I'm sorry, it was Acura, and pile up shit out of that apartment, which I left a lot of things behind, but she helped me get shit up and down the stairs. Pardon my language. But Margarita, and I had the broken hip, and Margarita helped me carry things up and down the steps, and even though I was still injured. I don't know how I did that with the fucking broken hip, but I had no choice, because if I left mostly everything. I left all my music collection, my CDs, my DVD collection. I left books. I left a lot of things behind because I was being pressured to hurry. I don't want to have to pay your deposit. No. I was being pressured to hurry up and move quickly. And Kenny only lived a few miles away, about a mile and a half away over there at Ferndale Street in the Upper Kirby District area. So it's not like she was only a fucking mile and a half away from me, more or less. Very close by. I was living in a great area. I loved that part of town. I was living in the Montrose West Gray. That is of all the places I've lived, that was my favorite neighborhood of all. I loved it. I loved being by. I loved it. I was close to Memorial Park. I was close to Upper Kirby. I was close to Rice Village. I was close to Allen Parkway. I was close to downtown, and I absolutely loved Montreux. I loved it. I was happy as could be in that neighborhood. I could go for a walk. I could not necessarily in the apartment that I was happy because I was being fucking surveilled and gang stalked, but I loved that part of Houston. I loved that area. It was home. It is home to me, and I still love that part of town. I loved it. It's where I grew up. It's what I was familiar with. I like it. I miss it. And yes, I do sometimes wish that I could go back there because Houston is my hometown. Going to Galveston, going to driving to that I knew Houston like the back of my hand. All the areas of Houston, I knew it very well because I grew up, spent my entire life mostly in Houston area. And it was home to me. I felt home. That was my home. My home that I got kicked out of and sent to San Antonio. I mean, I wanted to move because I was being so severely stalked by when I had divorced the Panamanian guy who was after a green card. He started stalking me and giving me death threats because I divorced him. And so I kind of got sick. I got really sick, physically sick. And emotionally, I was drained, and I figured I have to get out of here or else I'm going to die. This man is going to kill me. He's going to have somebody kill me. That's what I thought because it was so bad. The stalking, the harassment, the gaslighting, the gang stalking, all that was so severe, and I was so scared. And I was talking to a therapist, and I was talking to Cynthia Spanier, this psychotherapist. I was talking to her every single week, like twice a week for months, about what was going on during that whole divorce and while I was involved with that man because it was so horribly draining and bad for my health. And she was the only person who was supporting me throughout that whole ordeal. I felt like I was going to die. I didn't have anybody to talk to, so I was talking to this therapist, Cynthia Spanier, who I found through Freedom from Covert Harassment and Surveillance because Cynthia had been a victim, a targeted individual herself. And so she was helping me navigate my way through that whole horrific situation as a targeted individual because nobody believed that I was being stalked. Nobody understood. Nobody believed that I was being gang stalked, that I was being gaslighted, that I was being mobbed, that I was being all this stuff was happening to me in the workplace. It was like I couldn't deal with it all. It was too much. So I had to get help, psychological. I had to get professional help for all that. not on medication. I was not on any medication, pills. I was not on pills, but medication, prescription drugs. But I was talking to a therapist. And so this whole guardianship thing, and I remember in the court, I remember in the probate court, back in Kerrville when Alan died in 2023. So I see that it's all kind of connected. I feel that there's connections, and I see the patterns. And I'm thinking, well, either somebody has forged some kind of documents that have to do with maybe life insurance, or something that I was not told about, or some kind of trust. Why else would they have been so eager for me to go get a mental diagnosis so as to discredit me and put me in a mental hospital, unless there was some kind of monetary gain from that? That's the only thing that would make sense to me, because whenever that whole guardianship thing was going on in San Antonio in 2016, it got dismissed because I was made it get that way because of my persistence. However, the question I have is why? Why did they do that in the first place when I had not done anything wrong? What was a reason for that? And I haven't gotten the answer to that. So I believe it could be about the trust. It could be about a will. This Lita Bess Griffith, my great grandmother. It could be a lot of things, but I do believe that the main motive behind that is definitely financially motivated. How could it not be? How could it not be? Yeah, whenever there's money, whenever there's inheritance disputes and whatnot, there's always going to be people, family members, or distant relatives or whatever, or aunts, uncle. People are going to try to interfere if they don't want you to have something that's coming to you. And they already know it's coming to you, so they're going to try to prevent it. And they're going to, in my case, what I believe happened is this Valdez character, Lewis, is that I believe that he was contracted by somebody, probably this Carter Baldwin sibling. Somebody contracted him to, quote unquote, be my handler or my advisor or my caretaker, or somebody who was placed in my life to try to micromanage my assets and everything, and interfere and probably forge documents and I believe that this, back to that Facebook thing, I believe that woman who's on his Facebook, who's his girlfriend, and now he's saying that his phone was hacked, that she stole his phone, and that she's stalking him, and that, he had to change his phone number. But why does he keep showing up over here and giving me his new phone number and showing up here like he's guilty, like a guilty dog who's with his tail between his legs, like he's up to something, like he's hiding something. He's acting like a scared dog, like an animal who's just been caught pissing on the carpet. I don't know. It's just odd because he's frantic. His behavior is such of a frantic person who has been caught doing something illegal. That's his behavior lately. And he's getting very much like all this whole, now he started up with the whole love bombing thing all over again. Like, even though I know he's lied to me and I know he's been involved with that girl, he may still be involved with this woman on his Facebook. He's lying. Oh, my phone was hacked. She hacked into my phone. No, come on. I'm sorry, but I'm not that dumb. I might be a little bit oblivious and naive at times, but I'm not dumb. And I know that he's hiding that relationship from me for whatever reason, because I suspect that this woman that he's involved with, that's his... I must have been somebody who's secret, whatever. She clearly didn't know about me, or she did, and they are up to something, financial gain, to try to do something to me, probably, or something along those lines. But those two are working together, or they are working together to conspire against myself, is what I believe. That's how I feel. And so I've been playing it dumb. I mean, I don't have a choice, but he's been coming over here. I've been trying to be nice to him, but he keeps on. It's like he shows up yesterday, the other day, it's been a couple days now of his showing up when I'm on the treadmill. He left a note. He came over here and I ignored him the other day, and then he shows up with his new phone number. And then I wouldn't let him inside. I was just talking to him through the door. And then he came over here, shows up last night bringing a cookie. There's like a fucking rat in this house, sorry. He brought a cookie over here. That was weird, the timing of that incident. I just saw a rat. That's, whenever they come, they enter in through behind the refrigerator here. That's something I've got to fucking get fixed. So anyway, he shows up last night. I was actually going to go out. There's a band in town that I really like. This band called Moreau, Los Angeles based. The man happens to be Iranian descent. I didn't know that till the other day. But nonetheless, it's a band that's, it's kind of that music. I listen to a lot of music that's a couple generations younger than myself, or at least a good 10, 15 years younger than me. This band, this kind of dark wave, synthetic pop, synth pop music that I really, electronic, that kind of, it's got a lot of vibe kind of to the 80s, 90s that I grew up listening to. So I really get into that kind of music. I really love that kind of music. And this band, Moreau, that's from Los Angeles-based band, I really enjoy their music very much. And ever since I discovered this band a couple years ago, at least 2 years, 3 years ago, I've been like, this band fucking rocks, they're awesome. I love this band. I love the music. I love the videos. It's good music, and I really find it to be very it's good. And I've read about the man. I've read about how he got started. He worked as an EMS, or I think he maybe still does, or working as an EMS. I've read about the biography of this dude, this Moreau guy, is Arash something. He's Middle East, or he's Iranian, but anyway, or Iranian American or whatever. But or he's of Iranian descent. Yes, so it's really cool because I really like that music, the bands, the music and whatnot. So they were in town at Paper Tiger last night here in San Antonio, and I found that out a couple weeks ago. I was like, shit, Moreau's gonna be in town at Paper Tiger, so I was like gonna get a ticket. And I forgot. I kept putting it off. And then the other day I was looking at a website. I was like, okay, I'm going to get a ticket to go to Moreau. And the tickets were like $600. It said there's only one left, and it was like $550. I'm like, and it was through some online ticket place. And I was like, I don't know if I don't feel comfortable giving my credit card information to some kind of an online ticket sales place, because you never know. With my problem with identity theft and people hacking into my accounts and whatnot, I was like, I don't think that would be such a good idea if I do that. I don't want to put my information on that website to buy a ticket, so I didn't do it. And so then I was like, and the tickets are sold out, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to pay $500 to go see a ticket at Paper Tiger for a band, even though I could probably just dance to the music here by myself, even though I want to see them live. But then I found out. So anyway, I found that I could have gotten a ticket. Supposedly, I could have gotten a ticket last night for $37, which is, the day of the show. And I was gonna do that. I literally was gonna go. I was all dressed to go to the show. I was gonna go to Paper Tiger. I was gonna get in my car and drive to Paper Tiger and try to get a ticket to see Moreau play last night. And then this guy shows up, right? Mr. Valdez shows up, knocking on my door. And I'm like, shit, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's like all this interference and it's like they want to triangulate you with their exes or these. What's going on right now? It's like it feels like some toxic, nasty love triangle where I'm being the one who's having to moderate the fucked up shit going on because this man is involved with some kind of scandal. He's involved with that woman, and there's some weird something going on with that, where he was telling me that she's abusive, she hits him, she cusses at him, she hacked into his accounts, his Facebook account, and he's trying to get away from her, and she's stalking him, and all this stuff. I'm like, well, why don't you just go to the police department, Lewis? Why don't you call the police or do a police report? It's common sense. If she hacked into your accounts, if she hacked into your phone, then maybe that's a crime. That's illegal, isn't it? That's like a real violation of your privacy. Why don't you go do a fucking police report? He's like, no, I can't do. I'm like, well, then what do you want me to do about it? How am I supposed to fix it? Call the police. It's just weird. I mean, this guy, it's like he's trying to fucking mirror me. I feel like he's like trying to mirror my life in a way, because I believe they surveil me and he could be part of the police. I believe he is part of the police. I believe he is part of some kind of investigation group or something, because this whole fucking Saks Fifth Avenue job, I believe, is a big fucking cover for something. Maybe he's a male escort. Maybe he works with escort women or escorts or something. I don't know what he even really does for a living. If he even works at Saks Fifth Avenue. I don't know. I honestly don't know, because I've never gone to the fucking Saks Fifth Avenue and checked it out for myself, because I don't really I don't really want to. I don't want to drive to fucking Saks Fifth Avenue and play detective and go snooping around. Can I see Lewis in the shoe department or the jewelry department? Is Lewis Valdez here? Who are you? Oh, I'm his friend. I'm his special friend. I'm his lover. I'm his one of his many lovers. Is that what I'm supposed to say? I'm just saying, I don't know who this. I honestly do not know this man from a fucking hole in the wall anymore. I'm wondering, is everything about him a lie? That's what am I supposed to think that? Because now he's living such a weird double life, and now it's starting to come out in the light because that Facebook profile and this woman, this Nydia lady who he's involved with, who whatever's going on with that, his dance partner or something. I'm like, oh my God, it's like he's basically introducing all this drama in my life that I don't want and I don't need it. And he's the one doing it, not me. A lot of Hispanics, a lot of people, but a lot of Hispanics are addicted to drama, and they do have a lot of drama within their family units because they have usually such big families. A lot of the times there's a lot of drama in these families. There's also incest. There's also secrets. There's also stuff that goes on with these families. And I happen to be somebody who's very independent, very autonomous, very loves to be alone, because I like I enjoy my solitude. I like to self-isolate, to work on myself and my hobbies. And a lot of people don't understand that, especially I've noticed that people who are of Hispanic origin, which is predominantly what makes up San Antonio, and I'm used to being around Mexicans, Hispanics, no offense. I mean, I've been around these people my entire life. I understand that their culture is different. They're very family oriented, and they at the same time, they don't really believe in therapy. They don't really believe in talking to a psychiatrist or things like that, because they have a lot of shame-based stuff in their culture, I think. So they keep secrets, whereas other cultures such as mine are more open to going to a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist or an AA meeting, for example. If you have a problem, you talk about it. And these people kind of don't talk about things because of the stigma, I think, and the shame. Same word, but there's just a big difference. And I know that. I've lived in Bolivia. I've lived in Mexico. I've been around Mexican, Hispanic people all my life, and I know, and I speak the language too. So it could be just a cultural thing, a big misunderstanding or something, but I don't know exactly what is going on with this man and this woman from his dance club, his Luna Yellow, whatever the fuck that place, Luna something, I don't know. I think that's the name of the place. So whoever his lover is at this club, something's going on with these two, or they're either they're really genuinely having some problems, or that relationship fizzled out that he tried to keep secret. It's all out in the open now, but for me it is. But whatever's going on, either they're trying to play like they're trying to cover their tracks for something they did illegally, that might involve me in trying to get money from me illegally, because apparently this woman works for an insurance company. Because I asked him, I was like, what does this woman do, Lewis? Oh, I don't know. I think she works for an insurance company or in a car dealership, and also at a car dealership. I'm like, don't you know? Where does she live? What part of town? It's like, he's like, I think northeast. I was like, you've obviously been intimate with her, but you act like you don't know her. I mean, there's all these pictures of them, like a couple, like my love of my life and all this shit, yet you're telling me he says he's never been intimate with her? That doesn't make sense. So that's a lie. I mean, he's lying again. He lies. He's a perpetual, habitual liar. Like most covert, malignant, narcissist men are liars, or somatic, narcissistic people, not just men. They lie. They lie. They lie. Every other word out of their mouth is a lie, because they're used to getting what they want, and they just have a habit of lying to other people to try. And it's like, now that he's been exposed, now that she's been exposed, because I figured it out and my intuition was correct, he's trying to frantically deny it and act like that just lying about it, lying about the fact that he's been figured out. And so now maybe he's in some legal trouble. I don't know, but he's gonna probably get himself into some fucking trouble. Maybe he's gonna, I don't know, maybe he lost his job. Maybe he doesn't even work there. Maybe he works, like I said, I don't know, but there's something off. Maybe I have no idea who this man really is, and no one believes me because they just think I'm crazy and delusional, that yet this man gaslight. And now I just don't even care. I talk about it to document it, but as far as my emotions or feelings getting hurt, I don't even care. I've learned to just emotionally distance myself from the situation. Now I just see it from a different perspective. I don't emotionally get involved with it anymore. I've detached myself emotionally from it. So now I see it from more of a bird's eye view of what is going on here and why. A kind of more different approach to the situation, as opposed to, oh, I feel so hurt and rejected or betrayed. No, I'm over that stage. That happened already. I got past that and grew out and grew up. Okay, I had to man up or gear up, whatever you want to call it, and get over the, oh, and I feel so hurt and I feel so rejected or betrayed, or this man lied to me, and look, no, I'm over that. Now it's just like, what the fuck is going on here mode? Like, why, who, what, where, when, and why is what I want to know. I just want the facts now. Fuck the emotions. Maybe anger and humiliation, yeah, but that's different. A person, those kinds of emotions are quite acceptable when you've been lied to and exploited and set up maybe via false documents or things of this nature that are completely illegal. That's different. So now I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Who is this man? Because he's gotten his ass into some trouble, I think, and he doesn't know what to fucking do. He's coming to me to rescue him. Isn't that funny how that works? The one they fuck over and try to exploit and steal from, they come back to the person he wants me to rescue him after what he's done to me? How strange.